we want you to know.
A young couple's bright future filled with hope, love, and the simple anticipation of spending Thanksgiving weekend with family was suddenly and violently taken away in a devastating crash that has left their loved ones in overwhelming grief and raised painful questions about impaired driving, road safety, and the chain of decisions that led to a tragedy few will ever forget. On Saturday, November 29th, shortly after 3 a.m., 18-year-old Leo Shepard and 17-year-old Annika Wilson were traveling along Interstate 15 in a black Nissan Rogue, heading north toward Idaho, where they had planned to visit Wilson's aunt for the Thanksgiving holiday. The early morning drive, one that countless families embark on during the holiday season, should have been routine, peaceful, and quiet. Instead, it ended in a moment of catastrophic impact when a gray Audi, allegedly driven the wrong direction by 21-year-old Jose Jimenez, crashed head-on into their vehicle. According to the Utah Department of Public Safety, Jimenez had entered the interstate incorrectly, traveling south in the northbound lanes, creating a nightmare scenario in which oncoming drivers had little to no time to react. The force of the collision immediately engulfed the Nissan Rogue in flames so intense that first responders, who arrived within minutes, could do nothing to save the young couple inside. Shepard and Wilson were pronounced dead at the scene, their lives cut short in an instant, leaving their family shattered and a community struggling to understand how such a devastating event could occur. Meanwhile, Jimenez sustained only minor injuries, a fact that has added to the emotional weight and frustration surrounding the case. Authorities arrested him on suspicion of driving under the influence, and early details from the investigation fueled anger and disbelief as it was revealed that Jimenez had been driving with only a learner as permit at the time of the crash. Utah law requires that permit holders be accompanied by a licensed driver in the passenger seat. Yet according to officials, Jimenez was alone. This violation, paired with the suspicion of impairment, created a storm of outrage as people questioned how a situation with so many preventable factors could escalate into such a horrific loss of life. Court documents later revealed that Jimenez allegedly told investigators he did not feel safe driving that night, a statement that has since become one of the most haunting details of the entire incident. If he truly felt unsafe, why did he choose to drive? Why did no one intervene? Why was he behind the wheel in the early hours of the morning, alone, on an interstate he should not have been navigating? These questions, painful and impossible to fully answer, have only deepened the sorrow felt by Shepard's and Wilson's families. As troopers and investigators worked through the wreckage, the details they uncovered painted an increasingly grim picture. Utah Highway Patrol Lieutenant Brian Peterson, who has responded to countless crash scenes over the past decade, described this one as among the worst he had ever witnessed. In speaking to Fox 13, he said, "I've been a state trooper for almost 10 years now. We've been on several very bad scenes. This one was horrific. It was one of the worst ones that I've personally seen."
Their life was just starting. The individual that was driving the other vehicle that was wrong way has been arrested and charged with several different charges, including driving under the influence. So the other charges are still very much under investigation, but this one was horrific. It was one of the worst ones that I personally have seen.
These words, coming from an officer familiar with tragedy, underscored the magnitude of the loss and the violence of the collision. The highway near the crash site remained closed for hours as crews extinguished the flames, cleared debris, and examined the scene in hopes of piecing together the exact movements that led to the deadly impact. For Shepard and Wilson's families, the news came like a crushing blow, the kind of phone call no parent ever imagined receiving, especially during a holiday centered around gratitude, family, and togetherness. The young couple had been high school sweethearts, bonded not just by affection, but by a deep friendship and respect for one another. They were described as kind, compassionate, and full of life, two young souls whose energy, love, and laughter had a way of lighting up every room they entered. Their relationship, despite their young age, was admired by those who knew them, who saw in them a rare and genuine connection that many spend years searching for. Together, they shared dreams of the future, plans for careers, for exploring the world, for building a life anchored in love and mutual support. Now, those dreams have been violently extinguished, leaving behind only memories, photographs, and the painful what-ifs that haunt their families. Shepard's family member, Chantal Shepard Hansen, expressed her grief in a heartbreaking Facebook tribute that captured the depth of their loss. "There are no words big enough for this kind of heartbreak," she wrote. "Two souls who brought so much light, love, and laughter into our lives were taken far too soon." Her message continued, "Leo had a heart of gold and loved fiercely. Annika was pure warmth, beauty, and kindness. It brings me the smallest bit of comfort knowing they left this world side by side, the same way they lived." Her words resonated deeply with thousands who read and shared her tribute, each message of support reflecting the profound impact the couple had on those around them. The pain of their loss also reverberated among classmates, teachers, neighbors, and community members who saw firsthand the potential the two young people carried. They were not just names in a news story. They were individuals full of dreams, talents, and aspiration. Shepard was remembered for his heartfelt nature, loyalty, and the quiet strength he brought to those he cared about. Wilson was admired for her warmth, her creativity, and her ability to make others feel seen and appreciated. Together, they were more than just teenagers. They were a symbol of young love, optimism, and a future filled with promise. In the days following the crash, a GoFundMe page was created to support their families as they face unimaginable grief, unexpected funeral costs, and the emotional devastation of losing their children so suddenly. The fundraiser stated, "Annika's family and Leo's family are now facing unimaginable grief and heartbreak. Losing to people so loving, so young, and so full of life has left a pain no family should ever have to experience." Donations poured in from friends, acquaintances, and strangers moved by the tragic circumstances, each contribution representing a small gesture of compassion toward families who now face a long and painful journey toward healing. Beyond the immediate emotional impact, the tragedy has sparked widespread conversations about road safety, driving under the influence, and the dangers of wrong-way incidents, particularly during holiday travel periods when roads are busier. Fatigue is more common, and impaired driving tends to rise. Authorities have emphasized the critical need for responsible decision-making behind the wheel, especially among young drivers and individuals with learner's permits. Wrong-way driving, often occurring as a result of impairment or confusion, remains one of the most lethal types of roadway accidents, because the victims typically have only seconds to react. In many cases, including this one, the outcome becomes tragically unavoidable. For the families of Shepard and Wilson, the grief is overwhelming and unending. Their homes, once filled with laughter, warmth, and teenage energy, now sit in silence as they try to process a reality that feels too cruel to be real. Holidays, birthdays, and ordinary days alike will now carry the weight of absence, the empty seat at the table, the unused bedroom, the memories of moments that will never happen. There is no way to quantify the depth of their loss or to fully express the pain of losing not one. But to young people whose futures were meant to be long and full of beautiful possibilities, the couple's friends, heartbroken and stunned, have shared stories of their kindness, their humor, and the small ways they made life better for others. Teachers have remembered them as bright, engaged students with potential. Community members have described them as respectful, joyful, and full of promise. And their families, grieving deeply, remember them as children they raised, loved, guided, and watched grow into compassionate, loving individuals. As the investigation continues and legal proceedings move forward, the community remains united in support of the families and determined to honor Shepard and Wilson's memory. Their story, tragic, senseless, and emotionally powerful, has become a reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating consequences of choices made on the road. It is a story that will remain in the hearts of those who knew them, and in the consciousness of a community determined to prevent such tragedies from happening again. Shepard and Wilson's lives, though short, left a lasting impact. Their love, their kindness, and their light will be remembered by all who crossed their path, and the story of their tragic final journey will serve as a powerful reminder of the importance of responsibility, awareness, and compassion on the road. For now, their families and friends continue to mourn, holding tightly to the memories of two young people whose futures were stolen too soon, hoping that in time, their legacy will inspire others to make safer choices and cherish the time they have with the people they love. Because, as this tragedy has painfully shown, everything can change in a single moment.